Hello everyone and welcome to the 59th episode of Kouryer podcast. Today I'm joined with Mr. AJ Nye. He's a vector illustrator from Manchester, United Kingdom. And with that brief introduction out of the way, could you please give us a little introduction on how we got into visual arts and design?
Yeah, sure. Hello. Basically, I started in London actually. So I actually come from the southeast, and when you're down south, you just want to go to like London, and there's not really any sort of talk of the north at all, really. I went to London and I sort of studied there, and I basically got lucky, really, I think, with my final degree show, which I got picked up by a branding agency, Interbrand, and it got me started working into branding. I always had like an interest in sort of illustration, or more kind of like identity design, so like more of like the craft aspect, like logos and things like that, really. But yeah, I kind of sort of drifted into branding, and I stayed there for like 9 years. And then I don't know if you want me to go this far. I guess I've got far into it, but I spent like 9 years.
No, it's fine
there,
if you want to go into it.
Yeah, cool. And then I basically, I always had that sort of in the back of my mind. I always wanted to do illustrations, so I was always doing it on the side at the weekends and the weekday evenings. And I was lucky in a way that, so I put some more like personal work out, and it got picked up by Shop magazine, which is like a travel brochure, and they basically got me started on like small editorial jobs. And from there, like while I was working, I kind of jumped into that, and then made the transition into illustration. And that was like 4 years ago.
Interesting. And were you originally studying art and design, or you were pursuing another career path? Because I mean, for most, like the backstory of most artists are they were drawing since they were like 1 year old, or they actually went, or another case is that they went to a completely different path. Then they found their artistic passion. How was your situation?
I kind of. So going back that far, I always used to like, scribble when I was younger, and I was into like sort of comics and cartoons. I think, I was obsessed with The Simpsons, just drawing cartoon characters and stuff like that, really. I always liked art. I had like a little bit of art. I always wanted to do art, and I didn't know what I really liked in particular about art. I always liked it. When I went to college, I discovered that I didn't really like the freedom that art class gave me, like this complete like blank canvas, do whatever. I found that quite intimidating, and I think maybe because I didn't like the class, I switched over to design. And design was a bit more sort of boundaries and a bit more like parameters, it was much more suited to me. I sort of found myself again, like, I've always liked things like conceptual illustration, and like logos as well that have like sort of negative space ideas and things like that, really. But yeah, I sort of found myself here through the journey of working, really. Just have I wanted to find a job in art, and that was my goal, I think, originally.
And Well, I mean, with that out of the way, what is your main? I mean, of course, I already mentioned in the introduction that you're a vector illustrator, but we want to go a bit more in depth. Like, what is your right now? What is your main branch of design that you're working and are active in? And also, tell us about your experience from the start of it until now. Like, how has the journey in that field has been for you?
The journey from where? Sorry, from design to illustration. Or,
Yes, but at the same time, your journey and experience in vector illustration.
oh, vector illustration. Okay. Yeah. So when I was like a student, I really liked vector. I think I originally got into it. Well, I was originally into like sort of graffiti stuff when I was in uni, and I was trying to recreate the sort of airbrush art in Illustrator, which is like possibly the worst program to choose to try and recreate that. But yeah, I started just like tinkering away and just kind of like locked myself away at uni. I had a pretty lazy college experience where I didn't really push myself as hard as I should have, and I went into work in a small local advertising agency, and I did a year there, and I was like, this is not for me. I'm not ready for this sort of thing. So I went back to uni, and I had a completely different like mindset the second time I went in. So I basically was just locked myself away and just kind of like really determined to learn Illustrator and just to dig into the sort of geeky details of all these programs. So like I got into vector through computer arts probably, and I used to just love those, like the tutorials they had in the magazine, and I just used to just go through them all. I mean, at the time, you could get like a little annual that had all the sort of tutorials in one thick book. I mean, nowadays they're just like the Adobe tutorials probably online. It's the same thing probably, but yeah, I just loved it. I mean, I found it very inspiring, and I jumped into that and always drawn to wanting to kind of put my ideas across though, like to come up with more conceptual illustrations basically. But yeah, it kind of just like fell into it again.
Yeah, and I mean, you said about the books, and it kind of reminded me of something, because I remember when I used to be like 7-8 years old, my older brother, he was really into programming and all of that, and he used to have like these thick books on like C programming and C# and all of that.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, I mean, the meta was books, and it sounds so weird to even people listening to this who are pretty young, who aren't old enough to remember all this stuff. But before Coursera courses, YouTube videos, and all of that awesome fancy tutorials, there were books. You had to look at books and implement them in. It was weird, but it was better than nothing still.
Oh, it's funny, isn't it? Like, yeah, everyone wants to get like a magazine, like at the time, I mean, it's still kind of cool. Like, everyone still wants to make like their portfolio as a little printout, like properly printed sort of like newspaper print. The designers still love that. But yeah, like I can imagine now you just don't need to worry about that at all. And also,
yeah,
there's sort of places I would go to, like there's like a magazine store, Smith's, and you just go and browse, like just look at all the sort of the computer section or whatever, and you wouldn't do that now.
Yeah,
I'm so old.
And I mean, it surely. Oh, sorry, I interrupted you. Sorry.
That's all right. No, I was joking. I was just saying how old I am.
Oh, all right. All right. And actually, like thinking about it, it does really make a difference when it comes to like not just even learning it, but the design process of like the flow chart and the design process of like doing projects. Um, and well, I mean, with that said, also I also want to ask you about your own design process right now. How does your design process usually go anytime you want to start working on a new project?
Um, yeah, well, it depends. It depends on the project, obviously, but so I get like a lot of editorial pieces at the moment. So I do a lot of, well, originally I'd be like, digesting the article, just have a good read, make sure you know the ins and outs of all the subjects involved, and then it'll be like straight onto this. Well, I'll be like scribbling in a sketchbook. I might try and immerse myself in that world. If it's like some sort of finance sector I have no idea about, I will sort of Google it and just see what what it looks like visually, how this world comes across, and then from there, like I will hit the sketchbook and start thinking of ideas. Really, my sketches are like super rough, and I don't actually the sketches that I send across to the clients aren't actually hand drawn, so I will hit the Mac like straight away. And even though I do scribbles in my book, I will sort of prepare the sketches on the Mac, and I'll just do grayscale, and it'll just be like a simple sort of layout and rather crude sort of figures that I craft into afterwards. So once an idea is picked, and if there's not too many changes, I will sort of work from the sketch and start just kind of like crafting away. So like the people will look like really angular and rough in my sketches, but then it's just sort of like craft away at them. I'm very robotic. Like I use my mouse way more than you probably should do. But I use I like to stick to sort of graphic grids, like isometric, very sort of very gridded, and yeah, I try and keep the idea as simple as possible, so I can spend the most time crafting the object.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's it really. I mean, colors do. I used to start doing colors in the sketches, but that took up way too much time. So I do grayscale for sketches always now, and color-wise, I will usually pick on something that it just sort of, you get a feel for it, don't you? Like if something's supermarket themed or something, yeah, it might be a little cold blue kind of color, or you get a sense of what feels right, and then if it doesn't feel right, colors is very much for me. It's just feeling what feels right. I like to use a lot of,
and
I do have some things that I sort of lean on. I do have some sort of crutches, like design crutches, I call them. Where it's like just things that I keep me comfortable. So I have I do use shine against matte sort of texture. So I will use golds or copper or something like that against a pastel color. And yeah, I will. Yeah, sometimes I'll mix it up, but yeah, most of the time it's just feel.
And well, let's move on to the next question. Who are your favorite artists and designers that have inspired you the most?
Favorite artists and designers. I have to have to think about that. I mean, I have people that I sort of follow on Instagram. So I really like. I hope I get his name right, but Kouryer, who's he's from Amsterdam, I believe. Somewhere in the Netherlands, I think. But he does like isometric stuff as well. I love his his detail and the way that his line work is just like spot on. And there's ideas. There's a guy called Yarrick Wurzel. I hope I've got his name right as well. But he's like an editorial illustrator, and he does stuff for the New York Times.
Oh.
And he's like his stuff's quite rough and ready. Like, I think I liked him when I was a student, but when I was into like graffiti stuff and all that, so I really liked it. But his ideas are really really well thought through. And there's what else? I have like so many people that I sort of, that you follow on Instagram. You just get so many like clouds of people you see. It's hard. Like sometimes I try not to look at Instagram too much, to be honest, because sometimes it's pretty much like you can look at too much amazing work, and it just makes you feel awful. It's best just to take some time out. But I check in. At the moment, I don't check in much. Like I will check in automatically, like some point during the day I might check in, but then I'll see a few pieces, and then if I'm feeling it, I'll carry on, or I'll be like, I don't want to see. I'm not in the mood to see lots of amazing work right now. But it depends if I've got free time as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's so interesting that how seeing like artists' works on not just Instagram, like different social medias, it at the same time could be motivating for you to go, all right, I'm gonna practice my fundamentals more to get good at that level, or at the same time it could be also a bit discouraging because you're like, oh man, where can I ever get to that level? And it's like a Schrodinger's cat thing, where at the same time there's like two states. But I mean,
I think it's good to sort of dip in. I think that, like not to like be on there all the time. And that's where, I mean, I've definitely gone through phases of both, where I'm kind of I'm on there all the time, or at the moment I'm so busy at the moment I'm kind of not really looking at it as much. But yeah, definitely it's highly addictive.
And well, I mean, just on a side note, from the subject we just talked about, I want to ask you about the main subject of your artworks. And by the subject of your artworks, I mean the artworks you do it for your personal self, not the artworks you're obviously commissioned by agencies or clients. So what are the subjects of the works that you personally do, and what made them interesting to you?
I think like when I pick a personal piece, I do tend to like series. So when I'm thinking up something new, again, this goes back to the fact that I need rules, and I need some sort of boundaries to work within. So what I would do is pick a series, basically. So in the one of my earlier ones was songbirds, and I just wanted to have two things, music and birds, and just combine those and just riff off of that and see how many different kinds of musical birds I could create. And I like, once I've got those two things that I'm trying to combine, then I'm set. Basically, I just enjoy coming up with the ways of combining things, basically. So I did another one which was City Treats, which was about food and cities. And from that series, I just I think I was on holiday once, I think, and I had this idea for the pizza in Pisa, which was the Leaning Tower of Pisa, which combines with a pizza, and I really like that idea. So I decided to just do a whole load of other ones, and I'm still kind of doing them today. I have sketchbooks of random food mixed with city landmarks. But yeah, I don't really. I mean, at the moment, I'm working through a plant series, and I can't remember how that one sort of started. I think it's just because in this lockdown, I've become a bit obsessed with plants. So I just kind of I just started a series through that, really. But again, that wasn't really combining two things. That's just me riffing off the idea of plants. But yeah, if I come up with a new series, it will be it's usually pick two things to combine and then riff off of those. And those personal projects have been crucial, I would say, to me getting to be an illustrator now, because when I was at work in London, I basically did it the weekends and the weekday evenings. I just did this personal series and the Songbirds one, and I spent a while on it. And then from that series, I got contacted from Shop magazine, and that started the ball rolling, really. So yeah, I 100% I'll never stop doing personal work, because I think it absolutely helps get more work in. The more you put out there, the more comes back. So I don't know if you feel the same.
No, I mean, what you're saying is totally right, because humans in general are just momentum based, really very momentum based, animals, and I think you need to do stuff that isn't work related to keep yourself interested in that field. It's the same thing it's the same thing with the programming as well. If you, as someone who likes programming and gets into it, or as a hobby or something, and you get a nice job at a company, well-paying job, but in the company, usually of course, it depends on the position and the job, but usually it's very boilerplate, boring stuff. Mm-hmm. And after a while, and when your hobby and work becomes the same thing and it gets boring, that's dangerous. And you need to do other stuff, your personal projects, have your side projects to keep yourself interested in the field, so you won't get crazy and bored.
That's so true. Yeah, absolutely. Motivation is so important. Definitely. Sometimes, what's good about being freelance, I guess, is sometimes I can be I really need this time just to kind of to reset, or just try and do some more personal work. So I might take on lighter jobs, less intense ones. If I have the option, anyway. But yeah, it's definitely so important.
And let's move on to the next question. What technologies and softwares do you mostly use for your works? And by technologies, I mean, of course, the hardware. What kind of tablets or stuff you
I'm
use?
I'm very simple actually. So I just have a MacBook Pro, and I just have a mouse.
Really?
I do.
Just a mouse?
I have an external screen. I've got obviously got my keyboard, but I don't. I do have a pen actually, but I just don't use it. I do like any sort of sketching that I do will be just in my sketchbook. I mean, I will do most of my work just with a mouse.
Yeah, I mean,
keep it simple.
I think. Yeah, I mean, it's like a really consistent pattern with a lot of graphic designers and just illustrators in general. Like with vector art, because it's not really like that detailed heavy as raster art or something like that. So you kind of could cheat your way and just use a mouse. But if you want to get more specific and detailed and all that, you definitely need like a drawing tablet, if I'm not mistaken.
It depends how fast you do it.
Yeah, that as well.
Definitely like it's easier to add detail, like with what I do, because like isometric stuff is using scale, shear, rotate method. It's quite quick just to like churn through some shapes. But I totally. One of my next purchase is definitely going to be like a Cintiq screen. I just want a big screen because I think that would save me a lot of time. And ideally, get into more
that
detail.
Definitely could. Yeah. And any advice or tips for a good portfolio and resume for artists, in your opinion?
For portfolio, would you say? I mean, would that be like for an illustrator role?
An illustrator.
I guess you would want. So one of the things that I found out that they're looking for is people. They like to see people in their work, which I like. For me, like people are props. So I use like a hand, like a ghostly hand in the corner, or just a few people. But like it's usually the ideas where my focus is. But I did get a comment once when I was at the start of all this, when I did look at agencies as well, and one of the comments was, it's good to see people, because clients like to use people obviously in their work, and if they don't see enough of it, then they're not going to be able to see their work in you. So that's one tip. Another one would be, that's definitely, the personal work is good, but if you can get any sort of client work, that's, I would say, I mean, everyone's got their own opinion on it. I would say it's like, it sort of elevates you, I think, if you have work done by like proper client work. But again, if your like personal work is good enough, then that wouldn't matter, I'm sure. But so not to discount people who haven't got that work. Just keep putting. I would say like one of the things to help with that as well is just to keep putting out work, like in on portfolio sites like Behance, Dribble, Instagram. Just keep throwing out that work, and build up that portfolio that way, and you'll attract clients. the more you put out, the more that comes back.
Fair. Yeah, exactly. Like that actually makes a lot of sense. And speaking of the more you put out, the more it comes back. What are you working on right now that you can tell us about? What kind of project is it?
I'm not sure I can. I'm not sure I can actually.
So if there's anything involved, we can just skip the question.
No, that's fine. I'm just not sure. I can't remember if I signed a non-disclosure agreement.
Just to make sure we can just skip it. It's fine.
No, that's cool. I work with Witch Magazine a lot. Witch Magazine is. I work with them all the time, so I can talk about that. So I have a good relationship with Witch Magazine, which I absolutely love working with them. They're very open-minded to like concepts. Usually, when you put a few concepts up, there's a good chance they'll pick the one that you like, which is great, which is really important. But yeah, so the magazine is like Witch Money. This is the main one I work with that do sort of financial news and comparisons for like financial products, basically. But like it's sometimes quite tough. Like I have to do a lot of Googling to research some of this stuff because I'm not particularly well versed in that world. I'm not like a finance guy, but yeah, it's with the right creative director and that, it's really fun. I'm glad with the person, the guy Sam Williams I work with. It's going really well.
Awesome. And what area beside the area you're working on right now would you be interested to explore and learn in the future? Like, I mean, of course, right now you're an illustrator, an artist, but given that you had a lot of free time, an extra free time and resources, what's kind of skill or area would you be interested to explore and learn?
Well, one of the things that I keep trying to go into is animation, and I do have a sort of a mini deadline which is coming up very soon. I'm supposed to have done like a little animation example, basically, by some point in May, anyway. So I'm trying to push myself to do just a little bit of animation just to get myself started. And I'm really into I think called cinemagraphs, which is just a little touch of animation, almost like a still image, but just a little touch of animation. So I would like to start there, And I'm not sure I'll ever want to be like a full-blown animator anyway. Like it seems like a lot of work, but like. I as long as I can, add a little bit of life to my work that way, that'd be awesome. So that's definitely next steps.
Awesome. And with all that been said and done, to conclude all we discussed in this episode, give us a roadmap for someone who is zero in visual arts and wants to get to the place you are when it comes to skill set. Like where to start, best tools, softwares, books, courses, anything that could come to your mind for someone who is zero and wants to get to the place like you are when it comes to illustration. How would that step-by-step roadmap look like?
Step by step, I would say probably. I mean, I would like to say at the beginning, like you should have a think about yourself, like what you really love, what's really what you really love, and what matter? Does it matter that you're successful in it or not? Just you love it anyway, but and because if it's something that you love and you're prepared to put a lot of time into, with or without like success, then I think you're onto a winner there. Because I mean, from my experience, I've done a lot of work before I got noticed. So, and it continues to be that way as well. Like I'll still put up a lot of work, and it's not like every bit of work. Sometimes you put a lot of energy into stuff, and it'll just sort of sink into the ether. So, like, first of all, just kind of pick a direction, something that you love, and stick, and just keep going, keep going. But then, I would say from my path, look at the sort of tutorials they do on Adobe, and they've got some really great, excellent tutorials online, YouTube, and that's bound to have them. But just take a bit of time out, just lock yourself away, and sit down and learn it. It's best. I never got any of that tutoring in university. Like, they never taught us the software, and that really used to bug me. But if you have to do it by yourself, then that's probably better for you anyway. Just keep putting work out, and don't be too hard on yourself. Because some of the stuff that you put out, you might think is a bit rubbish, but someone out there likes it. It's surprising sometimes. But I think at the end of the day, it just comes through a lot of persistence and some luck. A lot of luck sometimes.
I mean that's true, but when it comes to luck, I believe that anyone who works hard towards their goal and what they're passionate about, eventually opportunities will show themselves. You could say it's luck, but but it doesn't show unless you don't put in the work,
Yeah, that's a good point, I think, actually. If it's something you truly love, though, it will show. Yeah, that's right. The passion will show through. I think that the agencies as well. But if you speak to agencies, they'll see that as well.
I think that's about it.
Yeah, great.
Well, thanks a lot for joining us on this podcast. And where can people contact you if they had a question? Is your Instagram okay?
Yeah, absolutely. AJ_Nye, MYE, and
I'll put it in the description.
Okay, yeah, cool. Or email me, andrew@ajnie.co.uk. I mean, that's it really. Just try and enter the positive note. One thing I would always say though is the personal work is the main route to success. That's why I'll keep doing it. I'll keep hoping that I can get better and better jobs, and keep putting out my personal work. Really, hopefully, fingers crossed.
And thanks for everyone who tuned in and listened to this episode, and thank you, sir, by the way, for joining us on this episode. It was a real pleasure chatting.
No problem.
And that's about it. Take care, everyone. Have a good day. Bye.